Well, hello everybody. My name is Nikki Jencen, and today I have a very, very special guest, and her name is Sarah Christensen. And I am elated that you are on this call with me tonight and that we get to chat all about your book and all about you. And I'm really, really excited about tonight. So thank you so much, Sarah, for being on the call. How are you?
I'm great, Nikki. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Good, good, good. Can you see my screen okay?
I can, yes.
Okay, so it says Nikki's interview with Sarah.
Yes, I can see that crazy picture of me on the bike.
Okay, I love that picture, by the way. That's why I picked this picture of you, because I am so in love with this. It screams fun. And I think that's exactly who you are.
You know, it's funny that you say that because this is one of my favorite pictures too. And when we did this photo shoot, I wanted to have some fun when we were doing it. And I have this crazy yellow bike, so I was like, let's bring the bike and see what we can do. So it was super fun. It wasn't staged. I was like literally riding my bike around being crazy, and the photographer just happened to capture this. So I also like it because I know what was happening when she took the photo.
But let's just talk about how you have no shoes on, too.
Oh, I know, right?
I love it all. I mean, the picture is just like I'm crazy, fun, and just I love it. I love it all. Love the feet, everything.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's just introduce you. You are a private weight loss coach, and you work with women all over the world to help them create the bodies and the lives that they love. And Sarah teaches women how emotional work is just as important as eating healthy and exercising. So that is so wonderful. Sarah has a bachelor's degree in communications from St. Cloud State University. Is that in Minnesota?
It is.
Awesome.
It's kind of rural Minnesota. There's not a whole lot there except for the college.
Right. You are a certified holistic health coach through IIN, the school that I went to. The Institute of Integrative Nutrition. That school, our school rocks, man. I love it.
I agree.
Yep. So you're board certified holistic health practitioner through the AADP, which is the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. You are a certified personal trainer, group fitness instructor, indoor cycling instructor, Zoom instructor. Girl, you are kicking some serious ass here. This is crazy. Biggest Loser Pro certification, finalist Women Who Mean Business Award. Women Who Mean Business Award, Rising Star Award nomination including congressional recognition, National Association of Women Business Owners member. Well, you are one amazing woman, and I am so honored to be chatting with you today. So anyways, people, this woman rocks, and she will change your life. So I'm so happy that everybody's in here tonight talking with Sarah about her awesome book at this time of year. It's 2 weeks away. We have Christmas. This is just mind-boggling, isn't it?
It really is crazy. I know I just posted something online today that basically said it's 21 days until the beginning of the new year. How crazy is that?
2015, here we come. I mean, we're just going to be whirlwinded in this new year. It's just crazy.
Absolutely. My theme and my mantra for 2015 is glow and flow. So for me, 2015 and for all my clients is going to be about glowing and flowing. It's going to be a much easier year.
Ah, yes, absolutely. The flow. I think for 2014 it was a lot of, at least from my own life, was a lot about transition. So if we can go right into the glow and flow of life in 2015, we're doing some great things, aren't we?
Absolutely. Well, and you're not alone. 2014 energetically just was kind of a transformational year where people resolved things and a lot of resolution happened just energetically in the world. So once those things are resolved and cleaned up, then we can glow and flow right into 2015.
Absolutely. Yes, I love that. And so your new book, Indulge Without the Bulge, A Girl's Guide to No Weight Loss, or I'm sorry, to No Weight Gain Holiday. Pretty cool. So, really, as I was looking over your book, it's just the premise of the book. It's really much deeper than just a holiday weight loss book.
Absolutely. And that's really the work that I do. Is it's deeper than just what you're eating and how much you're exercising, because it all comes down to how you're feeling and being mindful and being conscious about kind of what feelings you want to have in life and how you want to go through your life, and then the food and the exercise becomes part of that. Unfortunately, so many of us, me included, use food for kind of an emotional support or to soothe us. So a lot of the work that I do with my clients and a lot of what's in the Indulge Without the Bulge book is, yes, about nutrition and yes, about exercise, but the biggest piece is really about your emotions and your feelings and how you want to be mindful and conscious going through life. Because if you can determine what makes you feel good, and say something that makes you feel good is going out for to have a manicure and pedicure with your girlfriend, or going for a walk with your kid or your dog, or whatever it might be, if you can create those feel-good feelings in ways other than food, what you'll find is that you're eating less of the cookies and the candy and the holiday junk, and you'll find that you're feeling good and you want to take care of yourself, so you create out those spaces and sacred times where you can exercise. So it's really all connected, but so much of weight loss and especially women's self-care starts with what's going on in our brains.
Right. And this is a great book. You don't have to read it just during the holidays. This is a book for all year round.
Absolutely. The concepts are very applicable to any time during the year. Again, it's figuring out how do you want to feel and how do you be conscious about sort of the steps that you're taking in your life so that you're not finding yourself going to food for comfort. I mean, here's a classic example. I work with a lot of women who are busy moms and they're high-powered executives, and they're like going all day long. They're tending to everyone. They're giving to everyone. And at the end of the day, after they put the kids to bed or they've shut their computer down for the night, it may be 9 o'clock at night, and they're finally like, I can exhale. And then they are pouring themselves wine, they're sneaking chocolate, because they have gone and gave so much during the day that that's their little reward for literally making it through another day. Yeah. So what if their day looked a little bit different and they had worked in just some little tiny self-care things throughout the day? They wouldn't get to that end of the day and be exhausted and be, drinking a half a bottle of wine and eating a bag of Fritos or whatever it might be.
Right, exactly. And I know, the reward system with using food as our reward is really, we have to change that mindset. And do you have any examples on how somebody would go about changing that mindset?
Sure, absolutely. So I think the first thing is just recognizing that food is two things. It's fuel, but it can also be a pleasurable experience. But if you're using food as pleasure too much, it sort of dampens down the pleasure aspect of that. So just from a nitty-gritty logistical perspective, what I have my clients do and what I recommend people do is to plan 2 really yummy splurges of food during the week. So they're things that you absolutely love, not just something that you're grabbing when you're scrounging through your cabinet at 10 o'clock at night, but plan out what those 2 yummy splurges are, and then you can really tap into that when you're eating those and enjoy those and not feel guilty about those things. So just really logistically thinking about how do you use food and sort of bring it back to that pleasure state so you can experience that a couple times during the week. The other really important thing to do is to realize and to try and understand what kinds of things bring you that same good feeling that food may bring you. So if you're using food for relaxation or as a reward, or if you're tired and you're using caffeine or food to give you a boost, thinking about what are other things you can do to provide that. And my clients, I have them do a weekly schedule of what they're eating, what they're doing for exercise, but one of the other things that they're planning out weekly is their self-care items. And I think busy women especially tend to not be very good about being mindful and strategic about self-care. And when I talk about self-care, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. It could be something like having some beautiful hand lotion on your desk to put on your hands a couple times during the day. It could be taking a bath on a Saturday morning. It could be going and getting your nails done, or going for a glass of wine with your girlfriends, or whatever that might be, whatever makes you feel good. So I think it's sort of a twofold approach. Is number one, figuring out what foods you want as those splurges and to put in that yummy, like, sensory place for you. And then it's also figuring out what kinds of things you can do to make yourself feel good without food being in the mix.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That was great. I love that. I think people are going to get some real great value out of that, because I know even with my own clients that that's how they solve things for themselves. And even I fall into that that arena as well, where, you know, a couple of years ago I would go to Starbucks because I hated my job. And so that was my reward, to go get a crappy latte that was terrible for me, but I kind of justified it. Well, I'm going to work, so this is my reward for doing that.
Yes, that's a perfect example. And I think all of us have done that at one point or another in our life, because physiologically, just as pure animals in our bodies, we know that the quickest way that we can feel good is to even start thinking about food. Then we smell it, then we taste it on our tongue, and that immediate, like, endorphin rush that we get from, again, even thinking about food is primal. That's just kind of how we're wired, which is why I use the word about, why I use mindful and consciousness often, because we almost have to rewire or retrain our brains to think in a different kind of way, to not go automatically for food when we need a little pick-me-up, but to think, gosh, I can get that same or even better feeling by doing something else.
Exactly. I love that. And you know, you have an awesome story that I would love for you to share about, you know, your own weight loss journey. Can you share that with us, just so we can understand who you are and where you come from?
Sure, absolutely. I will give you the condensed version because, as you know, it's kind of crazy and complicated. But I mean, the long story short is that I grew up very poor when I was a kid, and food was scarce, and so it was always I've always had sort of an interesting relationship with food. And when I went to college, I had this crazy abundance with food. Like, the school cafeteria had anything I wanted. Almost every hour of the day, I could have as much as I wanted, and I gained at least 15 pounds.
Right.
And which I think a lot of us have experienced that, right? And then you're ordering pizza, you know, at midnight, all that kind of college stuff.
And drinking.
Yes, absolutely. That certainly is a piece of that.
Mm-hmm.
So had some kind of crazy stuff happen in my life. My mom died of breast cancer. I raised my brother and sister after she passed away. I had a very crazy kind of business that I started in 2000 and ran for about 10 years. That was crazy fun, but crazy. I got married. My husband cheated on me. My business partner screwed me over. I had, like, all this trauma and drama happening in my life. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor basically said, you know, I was always concerned about breast cancer because that's what my mom died of. But the doctor said, you know, you have an abnormal pap, and I went through all of these tests and procedures, and long story short is I had pre-cervical cancer. So basically what had happened is I had had all this crazy stress going on in my life, which caused me to get sick. It caused me to gain a ton of weight. And I really had a huge wake-up call at that point. I'm like, oh my God, I have made myself sick, I have made myself fat, and I'm not going to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, I really got to the point of, I need to heal myself of this cancer stuff that's going on. I need to make sure that it never comes back. I need to lose this weight. And that's really when I got into nutrition, and really when I got into using food to heal the body. And so I experienced that point in my life where a lot of women have experienced it, where you're saying to yourself, the outside doesn't match the inside. I am not this chubby person. I'm a thin girl inside of here, and I need to get out. I'm a healthy person. I need to make that come back again. So I really did use food and exercise and some kind of emotional kinds of work that I did to really lose the weight and heal myself. And that is, I think, my very best training for helping women in what I do right now. Certainly my certifications and my education is useful, but honestly, it's really the experience that I had myself that helps me to transform women, because I know what they're going through and I know what challenges they've hit, because I hit those as well, but I was able to overcome it.
Right. Fantastic. I mean, I also had pre-cervical cancer when I was in my young 20s, so I understand, all the things that you went through is very similar to my own story, so that's kind of funny. But so you got, yeah, so you overcome all of that, and then, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say that we tend to find each other. Like, I connect with so many women who are like, your story is my story. So it's not not a mystery that you and I have connected.
Oh, I know. And, I did read your story, and I'm going, this is interesting. It sounds very much like my own story. And I also lost 30 pounds, so that's another thing that changed my own life. But, yeah, so, let's talk about the holidays for a minute, because this is, the premise of your book is A Girl's Guide to a No Weight Gain Holiday.
Yes.
Are you getting some feedback on your end from me?
No, I'm not. It sounds okay.
Sounds okay? All right. That must be on my end. So how much during the holidays? Do you know that? Do you know that statistic?
Everyone thinks that we gain like 10 or 15 pounds during the holidays. But luckily, it's not true. Luckily, sometimes I even hate sharing this because I think it doesn't necessarily represent what's truly going on. But on average, Americans gain a little over 2 pounds during the holidays. And that's the good news. The bad news is that those 2 pounds...
That is the good news. Okay.
Yeah, those 2 pounds are pounds that don't go away. They tend to stay on us through the month of January and through the whole entire year. So it quickly, the damage that we're doing during the holidays quickly adds up, because obviously, 5 years of the holidays and 10 pounds have been put onto our bodies. So it's sort of a good news, bad news scenario. But 2 pounds of fat, and that's really what we're putting on during the holidays, 2 pounds of fat can make a huge difference in terms of how it looks on your body. I have this really kind of cool and very gross sculpture in my office that's a pound of fat. It's like a representation of a pound of fat, and everyone is always horrified when they see how actually large it is. It's literally like the size of a softball.
Interesting. So I know when you lost 30 pounds, that's like 30 of those.
Yes.
Yeah. I know from my own personal experience, when I lost 30 pounds, it was like when I was doing yoga, it felt different. Everything felt different. Everything. I was like carrying around, 10 jackets, 15 backpacks. That's how it felt.
It's so true. Even when you're sitting in a chair, you feel different. There's just you just take up different kinds of space, and you probably experienced this too, but your clothes fit you completely different, and there are some clothes that just you can't even wear anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I completely lost my butt. I had like a J-Lo butt. And it like deflated. It was totally flat. It was like a balloon that went, and it let all the air out. It was kind of sad, I have to admit.
Wouldn't it be great if we could decide where the fat was going to disappear from?
Yes. If I could just kind of take the fat from my belly, from my 2 kids, right, and then just inject it into my butt or my boobs, that would be amazing.
Yes, wouldn't it? I know.
Yes.
That would be truly a Christmas miracle if we could do that.
Okay. I will work on getting that arranged, okay?
Okay, perfect. You talk to Santa about that one.
I will. I will. So why do we gain weight during the holidays? Is it just all of the food that we're eating, or what's up with all this weight? 2 pounds is 2 pounds, but like you said, it adds up. So what's up with the holiday weight gain?
Yeah. Well, a couple different things come into play. Number one, we tend to have a heightened stress level that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Our to-do lists are super long. We're running around to parties. We're buying gifts. The stress level tends to go through the roof. And when your stress level increases, so does your weight. So there's the stress factor. The other component is that there is food everywhere. Now, if we were just having like a decadent Thanksgiving meal, a decadent meal on Christmas, we probably wouldn't gain any weight at all. But the fact of the matter is that there's food literally everywhere. In fact, I was at the vet with my dogs today, and they had a gigantic bowl of Christmas candy sitting out at the vet's office. So, we're seeing food in our offices, and we're having more parties with our friends where there is food around. So there just is this ever-present kind of presence of food, and the food tends to be decadent kind of food. It's not, you don't see a lot of, healthy like hummus and veggie plates at Christmas parties.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I know, right? So the food's around, and then there's also we let ourselves off the hook during the holidays because we say to ourselves, and we have this conversation in our heads, oh, it's the holidays. I'm just going to eat a few of these. Or, it's the holidays. I should be able to have this peppermint frappuccino extra large. Or, we can justify and kind of give ourselves an out why those special treats should, come into our day several times a day. So there's a stress level. There's the food being around all the time. And the last piece of it is that we tend to get out of our routines. And the first things that people tend to give up are their workouts. So if there's a choice between finishing buying all your Christmas gifts and going to the gym to take a Zumba class, most people during this season will choose Christmas gifts or parties or whatever it might be. So it's sort of like a triple whammy between those three things of, the stress, giving up our workouts, and eating more decadent food that's around all the time, that it's no wonder that we're gaining at least 2 pounds over the holidays.
Yeah. My husband said to me today, because we both have put on a few pounds in the last couple of months, and so he said, well, why don't you go to the store and just buy all clean food? I said, well, actually, I'm going to be doing a clean eating program in January. We should start then. And he goes, why? And then I'm going, oh yeah, I guess we don't really have to start in January, do we? So that was fantastic. That it brought me back to reality, where I was kind of in the motions of the holidays, going, oh wait, I should really just start this. Just go to the grocery store tonight and start it. Duh.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But it is easy to get caught up in the fact that it's a different season and it's the holidays. But the fact of the matter is there's 21 days left in the month, which if you have 3 meals a day, that equates to 63 meals from now until the end of the year. So you can do a lot of damage or you can do a lot of good in those 63 meals. And even if you back out, let's say, 5 or 10 of those meals that are going to be special, that's still a lot of like regular routine meals that might as well be as clean as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. So, and I love how you go deep into the personal connections with the holidays. In your book, you ask, what is my personal connection to the holidays? That's what you're asking your readers. What do the holidays mean to me, deep in my heart? And I think this is, so important to connect to the holidays on a deeper level, but, how can it help people lose weight? How can that deep connection help people lose weight?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think that not many of us have been asked before. Don't think about what the holidays mean to us. They just kind of come roaring in, and the focus tends to be on food, and it tends to be on gifts. And most of us, if I think we would actually stop and think about what is our heart connection to the holidays, we probably wouldn't say food. We may say gifts because they represent giving, and that's beautiful and all well and good, but it doesn't have to be about the food. So really the purpose of that kind of exercise to dig deep in your heart and think about what the holidays mean to you is to put more focus on what the meaning is and how you can feel more of that meaning and give the food less power. Because if the food has less power, then you're not eating it, you're not succumbing to it, you're not spending an extraordinary amount of time cooking decadent foods and having them around your house. So if you're tapped into what the holidays mean to you, you can figure out other ways and quite frankly more meaningful ways to express that and to have those feelings come into your life. And it's very common when I talk with people to hear, when I challenge them about what the holidays mean to them, family always comes up. And so I'll say, you know, what are some ways that you've had the most fun with your family and you've been connected to them most closely? Food rarely comes up. It comes up once in a while if it's like a special meal that they've had together, but they'll talk about like some activity that they've done together, or you know, some family event, or some funny pictures that they have together. So really the purpose of that exercise is to take the power away from food when it comes to the holidays and really put the focus and meaning on where it should be. And you know, I've said these words before, but it's really about being mindful, and it's really about being you know, absolutely in touch and conscious about what you want and how you feel. And again, all of that takes the power away from food. Then those, you know, those red velvet cupcakes don't nearly have as much power over you if you're focused on your family, if you're focused on, you know, how you want to feel and being loving and giving and generous. Then the food just kind of, the temptation and the food calling you just kind of goes away.
I love it. Yeah, and you know, the power of food, it really is, it can take over every single piece of your life. And so it's so great that you ask, you know, what is really important here? Is it the food factor, or is it, you know, love, or what? It has to go on a deeper level. And you mentioned in your book too that, you know, your mom would cook a cake for Jesus, right? And at the time you thought she was kind of like crazy for doing that, but now that you're looking back on it, you go, well, that really represents something that was meaningful to her. This Jesus' birthday.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that was actually my stepmom, and so you know, you have the whole step-kid dynamic in the beginning, or just throughout the relationship. So I was always like, I have this crazy stepmom who makes a birthday cake for Jesus. And I was embarrassed as a kid, but again, looking back on it, I'm like, you know what? That's what was important to her, and that's actually really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And just creating new traditions, or a tradition that isn't, you know, solely based around food.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And those things can be simple. Again, they don't have to be complicated. They don't have to be expensive, but just simple kinds of things. Maybe you're, you know, going for a hike together on Christmas morning, or you're going to the local nursing home and doing Christmas carols, singing those. You know, it can be very simple kinds of things, or maybe it's a craft project that you're working on. And it's funny, I totally have craft projects on my brain because we were talking the other day about what we were going to do on Christmas, and my fiance's mom is a retired art teacher, so she's actually going to lead us through an art project where I think we're going to do paper mache. But how fun is that? We'll remember making silly paper mache for years. We won't remember what we ate that day.
Yeah. Well, and let's go back to the red velvet cake.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people love that. But, you know, for the sugar-addicted woman, right, and we're all out there, what advice can you give to her as to where to even start during the holidays? You know, if you're completely addicted by the time we get to the holidays, how do we even, you know, this woman is listening to you right now. What advice do you have to get her out? Because she's struggling right now with the sugar.
Sure, absolutely. So sugar, as you know, Nikki, is one of the most addictive things that we have access to. There's been many studies that have said sugar is even more addicting than cocaine, and I believe it because I detox basically my clients all the time. So my strongest recommendation for getting off sugar is really to go cold turkey and to detox. But during the holidays, I think that that is particularly challenging, and honestly, I'm not sure it's something that I would recommend. So what I would recommend to the women who are listening who do have a tendency to really want to be pulled towards sugar is to think about and really plan out those sugar splurges that are worth it to you, that you love and that you want to partake in, and partake in those, but really try to make choices against the things that aren't worth it. And I always call it Walmart food versus Nordstrom food. Like the Nordstrom food is going to be worth it. That's that yummy, decadent thing that you only get once a year. It's like your favorite. It might be like a cheesecake or gingerbread cookies, whatever it might be. Those are worth the splurges. But the Walmart food, which is like, you know, grocery store cupcakes with frosting made of lard or bagged cookies or any of that kind of stuff, is just not worth it. So make your choices for the stuff that's worth it. The other thing that I find with people who have who really are drawn towards sugar is that that's highly emotional as well as physiological. So again, going back to how can you feel good without literally taking that hit of sugar? What are those things that make you get those feel-good endorphins other than sugar? And you honestly have to think about it ahead of time, because when you're in that moment, you're like, give it to me. Like, pump it into my veins, baby. I am ready for the sugar. So you have to think ahead of time, like, what's going to make me feel good? What's going to give me a little perk other than sugar? But honestly, now is probably not the right time to go on a full detox unless you're like really hardcore superwoman ready to give it up. But the momentum of the new year and having that fresh start is really, really a great opportunity to kick sugar to the curb. Because as you know, Nikki, it's in almost every single processed food. Even if they're not sweet foods, savory foods are loaded with it, and it's so hard on our bodies. We're finally realizing that sugar and carbohydrates that convert into sugar, the simple carbs, are really what make us fat. It's not fat that's made us fat.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know, with the emotional aspect of it, because I do that a lot in my own coaching, and people don't realize that when they're eating sugar, that it's really an emotional issue, not a food issue. And it is a food issue, but it's more of an emotional attachment that needs to be dealt with as well. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yes. The emotional component of people who eat a lot of sugar, it's critical. It's right in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you talked about New Year's briefly, and so the momentum of New Year's resolution. Can you go into that a little bit more? I love where you were going with that.
Sure. So I love a fresh start. Like, I love a blank piece of paper. I love the number 1. I like anything that gives you a kind of a fresh new entry point. So New Year's, I think, is really, it's the pinnacle time of the year to reflect on what is possible and how to create a beautiful new year. The problem, however, is that the whole concept of resolutions is flawed, because you can't just put a hope out into the world and say, my resolution is to lose 20 pounds. Well, what are you going to do about it? And what are you willing to do about it? And what's the time frame? So resolutions to me are sort of hopes, and the real rubber that meets the road comes down to plans. It comes down to practical goal setting. And with weight loss, it comes down to one thing and one thing only, and that is changing your rituals, changing your habits. Unless you change what you do every single day, nothing will change. You have to change up your food, you have to change up your thinking, you have to change up your exercise. Otherwise, you're just going to get more of the same. And that's really the magic when it comes to weight loss. It's not about the things you do once in a while. It's not the good food choices you make once in a while. It's not going to the gym once a week. It's really those things that you do every single day. It's those habits, it's those rituals that create your body. So again, I love the promise of a new year, and I love taking advantage of that momentum and that forward moving, and everyone sort of has that hope and that freshness. So jump onto that energetic bandwagon, but realize that it has to be habit shifts that you're making. It can't just be a hope that you're putting out into the world. You actually have to change the way that you're operating.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And, you talk about the importance of gratitude in the book as well. And so how important is it when trying to lose weight to have, the concept of gratitude?
Yes, absolutely. You probably see this with your clients too. Once people can get into this, and it sounds so corny, but it really is an attitude of gratitude, what happens is the self-loathing and the discussions that we have with ourselves in our heads that aren't very kind start to dissipate, and what happens is they start to be replaced with more positive, kind of almost like cheerleading conversations happening in our head. But unless, and that's so incredibly powerful when it comes to weight loss. If you can transform the thoughts in your head from being critical and nasty to being supportive, it truly does create miracles, and that starts with gratitude. And sometimes I'll ask my clients to tell me like 2 things about their body that they're grateful for today. They could tell me 100 things that they do not like about their body, but honestly coming up with 2 things is a struggle for them. So I always say, okay, let's start with something simple. Like, do you have all your fingers and your toes? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, there's lots of people in the world that do not have their fingers and their toes, so let's start there. Or let's start with something like your heart is still beating even though you have nothing to do with it. Like your body has all these amazing, miraculous systems that are happening without you doing anything about it. So it's starting to just even recognize the basic kinds of things. And once you can get into really thinking about, you know what, I am lucky that I have all my fingers and toes. And I am really lucky that my heart is still beating. What happens is you start softening. And you start realizing all the great stuff that you have, and that momentum creates more and more good momentum, and it really all comes down to how you're feeling about yourself and how you want to take care of yourself. And like, here's a good example. So I'm sure that you have met someone in your life who's like physically beautiful, but as a person, they're kind of a jerk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at them, even though they're physically beautiful, they're not very attractive to you because you know that they're a jerky kind of person. So it's the same kind of thing. Like, if you can look and think and be grateful for the beautiful things that you have, then you start to create more of that love and respect, and that you want to care for yourself. Because if you care for yourself and you love yourself and you want to take care of yourself, you'll make the right food choices. You'll make the right exercise kinds of choices. So the whole gratitude thing really comes into changing your perception about how you feel about yourself and how you want to take care of yourself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I love that. I love that, we're about taking care of ourselves, and, it's just about really seeing what's important in life and changing a new way of thinking.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's just it's really, really important.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a big-time foodie. And I love food. And I write about food. I take pictures of my every meal pretty much. I'm a personal chef. So I want to hear about this awesome food that you have in your book, or what you would suggest as far as holiday treats, but without the weight gain.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm kind of a foodie too. I love food also, and I'm fussy about what kind of food I eat, and I'm into it. Like, you and I probably are the people that spend time in the grocery store and really actually like it, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
So when it comes to holiday food, I mentioned this earlier, but the meals that are routine and that aren't special or at a party or festive, try to keep those as routine as possible. And I am such a huge fan. Like, maybe I should get a tattoo of like green vegetables on me. I am such a fan of green vegetables. I think they are just absolutely the best thing that you can eat. So really as many veggies as possible, lean protein, whole grains, a little bit of fruit. That's really my recommendation for kind of your non-special type meals. And then when it comes to treats and baking and holiday type foods, I really use that same kind of principle as my foundation. So one of my go-to appetizers that I will bring to a party or that I always have at our parties is shrimp cocktail, because it's a lot of protein, it's incredibly simple to make, and so while I'm a foodie, I don't like to spend a ton of time in the kitchen, so I know that that will be easy and simple. I do have in the book a very simple recipe for shrimp cocktail sauce, because the cocktail sauce that you buy in the grocery store is, of course, loaded with sugar and all sorts of crazy stuff. So shrimp cocktail is one of my go-to recipes for parties, and so are some sort of fancified deviled eggs. So again, they're easy to make, they're simple, they taste good, they're festive, people like them, and they're healthy. So those are two of my go-tos when it comes to like appetizer type food. When it comes to main dishes, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, but my clients and I laugh about it all the time, I am a huge, huge fan of the crock pot. Mm-hmm. Do you have a crock pot, Nikki?
Oh my gosh, I'm using my crock pot right now.
I love it.
I love the crock pot, honestly. If it wasn't for the crock pot, we probably would be eating out probably twice a week, because you throw it in the morning and then it's done at night. So then after all the basketball, football games or practices, we just come home and we eat.
Isn't it amazing?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Really best invention ever.
I totally agree. So for parties and whatnot, I am like the crock pot queen, because I don't want to be in the kitchen tending to food while my friends are all having a good time. So I do a lot of crock pot meals. I will do, like, I have a sweet potato chili that I love that's so easy and yummy. I have a recipe that I make for my friends. I don't eat pork, but they love it. It's like Mexican carnitas in the crock pot, and then you put them in lettuce leaves. They're so good. But the crock pot is like my secret weapon for parties or any sort of entrees where I don't want to be cooking and I don't want to be stuck in the kitchen. So that's awesome. For desserts, I have a recipe for peppermint black bean brownies that are to die for.
What are the ingredients?
The ingredients are, it's a can of black beans, and I'm riffing off the top of my head here. There's a little bit of oats in them. There is obviously peppermint extract. I believe there's some coconut oil, and I apologize, I don't know it off the top of my head, but they are delish. They are yummy and fudgy and thick, and I make them all the time, and I never tell people that there's black beans in them, and I never say that they're like gluten-free or healthy or anything, and people always say, these are the most amazing brownies, and then when I give them the recipe, they're literally like, wait, there's black beans in these?
Right. Well, so, good. I'm glad that you just gave a little bit of a snippet of the brownies so that people can buy the book and then make the brownies themselves, and then tell you how awesome they are on, Facebook, and you're on all the social media networks, right?
I am, and I love to hear feedback when people cook my recipes or send me pictures. That is the best.
Awesome. And so I'm going to just click over here to Amazon, and your book is right there on Amazon. I mean, $2.99, come on. This would be on everybody's, like, wish lists and reading lists, and everyone should buy it for $2.99. Give it to your friends. I mean, you could buy a whole slew of them and still be like under $10. This is ridiculous. So I think everybody out there should buy Indulge Without the Bulge, A Girl's Guide to No Weight Gain Holiday by Sarah Christensen. You are amazing. Thank you so much for being on this call with me tonight and chatting with me, because you are so much fun.
Awesome. It was absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much, Nikki.
Yes, thank you. And let's connect again, because you are one amazing girl that's on a mission to change the world, and that is also one of my missions as well, to change the world plate by plate, and we can do this together, right? We're wonderful allies.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, and so for everybody else, go out there and visit sarahchristiansen.com. You can also get some free resources on her website. Start Losing Weight Now for free and get instant access to her weight loss resources, tools, videos, coaching guides. I mean, she has it all. It's all there for free, and she's going to help you even hire her as a coach. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we'll connect soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikki.
All right, take care, Sarah.
All right, bye-bye.
If I don't talk to you, Merry Christmas.
Oh, and you too. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.